Welcome to the Western Bell podcast series with talks on traditional spiritual teaching and its application in the world today. The intention of the series is to offer something useful for those who are drawn to study themselves and engage practice on the spiritual path. New talks are posted twice each month. The content of the talks is for informational purposes only and not to provide any kind of counseling, medical, or professional advice. This podcast is titled, Don't Know, Go Straight. The talk was given by Elise Erro, EE, on August 16th, 2025, via Zoom. EE has been committed to a life of engaging spiritual principles and service through theater, support for the dying, and bringing enjoyment to others as a chocolatier. In this presentation, she discusses the teaching, Don't Know, Go Straight, that came from Korean Zen master Soen Sa Nim and her experience of working with it. EE engages in insightful and humorous conversation with others in attendance about thinking mind and don't know mind, our true nature, working with emotions, limitations, worry, right action, conscience, suffering as it is seen in Buddhism, ordinary magic, compassion, and responsibility. She refers to the practice of self-observation and to a book by the same name, which was written by Red Hawk. If there is benefit in this talk for you, please consider sharing the link to it or writing a review on social media or on one of the podcast platforms. Elise Erro, EE.
The idea of Don't Know, Go Straight, which was the title of this talk, comes from a Korean Zen master named Soen Sa Nim. He was born in Korea at a time when the place where he was living, which is now North Korea, was actually occupied by the Japanese. So he was born into a fighting sort of situation. So as a young man, he became quite political, and he wanted to fight what he thought was injustice of his people. Didn't take him very long to figure out that that wasn't going to work out very well. And he ran across some Buddhist teachers, and he decided that he would turn his gaze inward and see what was there. He did a lot of very intense practice, and he reached a certain stage where in their lineages, they go and they get somebody to verify that. So he went to a master, and his teacher gave him what they call in Korea a kongan. We call it a koan. It's a question that is given to the student that seems to be impossible to answer with the mind. I don't know what the question was, but his teacher gave him this question. And when he went back and asked Sonny what his answer was, he said, I don't know. And his teacher said, great, that's good. He said, stay with don't know mind and then go straight. And that became his whole teaching, basically. And he taught a lot. He opened many centers in America. So he taught a lot in America. And he would often go back to very troubled parts of the world, like Korea and like Russia. He used to practice in Russia because people were suffering there. He really understood Buddhism from his own personal experience. But he took this practice and developed this practice of don't know mind. Now, when I don't know the answer to a certain question, then just go straight. Since I've been looking into this and listening a lot to Sa Nim's students who are now become teachers in their own right, I've learned that it's a way of life with them. And they teach their Sangha, the people who want to learn this, they teach them how to do that. And they apply it to everyday life, which is what I like about it. I mean, there are a lot of sutras and teachings and so on in Buddhism, but this is a very practical approach. Don't know mind is very practical. So what does he mean by don't know mind? So there's two minds. There's a thinking mind. We probably are pretty connected with that. We probably understand what a thinking mind is. And then there's a mind that is without thought, and they call that before thinking mind. And it's a mind of the moment. And they have various techniques for getting to that moment because that mind, that before thinking mind, It's only in the moment that you can get to that mind. And it's in that moment that you can discover your true nature. You can experience your true nature, is what their teaching is. So what is that moment? And one of the techniques they use sticks. They slam the stick on the floor, and that brings you back to the moment. It's a reminder that that is what don't know mind is. It's an experience. But to get to that, there's a lot of practice that's involved. So they do a lot of sitting practice, of course. But then they have everyday practice. What is it like when you're out in the world and you're in your life and things come up? I'm a cashier at a grocery store. So a friend of mine walked by as I was checking people out, and he said, "Oh, you're going to be giving your talk. Are you prepared for your talk?" And I said, "I don't know," which is the truth. And I said to him, "How can I be prepared for a don't know mind talk? How do you prepare for something like that?" Well, I've been reading about it. I've been watching these teachers on YouTube. For one thing, I've noticed is that it's very similar to the practice that I do of self-observation. It's about watching oneself. It's about watching what one's up to. They have different words for it. And it seems to me one of the words that they use for getting to know what you're up to, seeing what you're up to, that's what they call your personal karma. That's what they call karma, which I found very interesting because they all come to the same conclusion is like what we see when we start looking at ourselves is that there's a lot of stuff there that we don't really care for. We don't like, we don't care for it. What do we do about that? What do we do about something when there's an emotional charge attached to what it is we see and what we're dealing with in our daily life? So they talk about that. And they talk about how those situations can cloud the thinking mind so that our don't know mind is obscured. How do we get back to don't know mind? And that's what I'd like to discuss with you tonight. Does anybody have anything yet? Don't know? Yes.
Yeah, you said that when we self-observe,
Right.
there's a lot of stuff that we see that we don't like.
Right.
How do you work with that when the teaching is don't know mind? Do you do anything with that at all?
Do you?
I'm asking
Things
you.
come up for, well, I know. I know.
You're giving the talk.
So how do you work with something you don't like? First of all, to see what it is that's arising. And oftentimes we get triggered by things that are not necessarily going on in the moment. We're triggered by things in the past. So to know where that's coming from is very important. And we do that by working on ourselves and getting to know ourselves.
Well, does working with ourselves come from don't know mind? That comes from thinking. Like I'm thinking that I don't like this thing about myself and I need to relax that or not judge myself. I mean, that's thinking it through.
Yes. Yeah. That's what you're noticing about it, is that it's thinking. And it's from the thinking mind that problems arise. I don't like it. I want to stop it. With don't know mind, we get to a place where we begin to see that it's really not a problem. Thinking mind is not a problem. We need it. We need to be able to think so we can speak, so that we can plan things, all kinds of things that we do with our mind. What do you do when you see something that you don't like? First of all, recognize that you're making a problem out of it, right? You don't like it. That's one of the very first basic tenets of Buddhism is that it's our likes and dislikes that cause our suffering.
I could see that you might just push it aside, like spiritually bypass, so to speak, by saying, oh, the teaching is really don't know mind.
When you notice that you're pushing something down, if you're a practitioner, you notice that that's what you're doing, or you want to bypass that. You don't want to deal with that right now. This person's right in front of you. You don't want to deal with how that makes you feel in the moment. So to be able to have enough stability of your practice to be able to hold what is happening that you don't like right now, that's a very uncomfortable question for me. I don't like that I'm not a Dharma teacher in the moment and I can't give you a smart answer. I don't know. So this is another area of practice for me. So this is the one that I'm challenging myself with. So last week was a whole week of looking at what was coming up in my life that was challenging to me. Can I practice this in a way that I don't limit myself? This week I was working with limits. So I see how, because I have certain opinions about things, that I limit myself in my responses to a certain situation by my attitudes and my actions. Let me give you an example. It's much easier to work with actual examples. I'm dealing with pain in my body right now, and I have to work on my feet for 8 hours a day. When they call me into work, I need to work for 8 hours a day. I went to my managers and I said, I can't do that. It's really hard on my body. I can't do that anymore. I'm in pain, blah, blah, blah. That's a limitation I put on myself. Is that really true? Is that really true? So this week, I got to actually challenge myself about that. There's a bit of a charge around that. Why should they make me work when I'm in pain? So, okay, there's that. So what I found out was when I challenged myself and I said, okay, I'm going to say that this is a limit I put on myself, and I'm going to go ahead and do the 8 hours that they called me an extra to do this extra work. And I did it. And I found out that the limitations I was putting on myself were mostly mental constructs. It hurt and my body was very tired, but it wasn't anything that I couldn't do. So I got shown a lot. I got shown that I can actually widen those limitations, but at the same time, not overdoing things. So I'm having to learn how to do that. So there's a really good little demonstration of this idea that I got from seeing something on YouTube this week. The guy was saying, this is how we limit ourselves. And he took a white piece of paper and there was an ant in the middle of the paper. And then he took a Sharpie and he drew a circle around the ant. And the ant would not go outside of the circle. And then he drew a smaller circle around the ant and the ant wouldn't go outside that circle. And he said, this is how we limit ourselves. How can I not limit myself? And as he was talking, the ant went across the line. He learned that it was just a line on a piece of paper and he could walk right over it. So I can be that ant, a little crawly ant. It's a visual image that's very useful because I can just remember that image. Am I able to go beyond or maybe go back before thinking mind, before I had these opinions and I had these restrictions on myself that I had justified because I have emotions about it and I have doctors' explanations for why I shouldn't be and whatever. I was wrong. What do you do when there's something comes up that you don't like about yourself? You do whatever you do, but you do something. And that's the other part of this teaching of Sa Nim's, which is don't know mind, don't know, go straight. So they emphasize a lot. It is important to act. It is important, whatever you're doing, to act. So what is the job of a Buddhist? What is the job of a bodhisattva? It is to help the world, to help people in the world. That comes up every day. I'm sure we're all in situations where we can help someone. Do it. And that's the other teaching is just do it. It's a Nike thing. They say just do it. The go straight part is you just act. With no mind, you just act. But the thing is, when you go to that place of no mind, it shows you the right action because you're getting back to your true nature. Your true nature is who you are. And then the action shows you who you are in action.
Well, I'm a writer, so typically when I get to that place of quiet mind, I can think about one thing at a time, as long as I want. Just that one thing.
Is that useful to you?
Yeah. Usually I'm thinking about a story problem.
Well, that's a way of helping your
Creativity, yeah.
Your creativity, what it is that you're advancing in the world. So that's what you're doing in the world. And so meditation helps that. Yes?
Yes.
What happens when you're in a crowded situation? Are you able to practice then?
I have a funny superpower.
Good. What is it?
If a party's happening in 2 rooms and I go to room A and sit down quietly, everyone will leave room A and go to room B. I don't know how I accomplish it, but I've seen it happen over and over again. It's like, get out.
But you're not being aggressive about it, are you?
No, but it broadcasts somehow.
Anybody else? Don't know.
What does straight mean?
You mean go straight?
Yeah, why straight?
The practitioners of don't know mind, I listen to what they say, and they say that the go straight part is like when you get to a place where you quiet down, you know the next thing to do. And it's important to do the next thing with the idea in mind of helping other people. And they talk a lot about also the situation, the correct situation. So what's the right response in any particular situation? So to say go straight, it's very hypothetical. I mean, we don't have any examples right now. Do you have an example you could give me?
No, but it sounds then maybe that it's a byproduct of don't know mind, because not knowing sounds more weavy to me than straight.
Weavy?
You
Like
know,
weaving around?
less directional. A straight line seems very knowing.
Well, I don't know that it's actually literal. You know, the next correct thing to do. Practicing this for a week that I've been working on it seems to be that I don't have to worry about the next thing. That's the other thing I've noticed. I'm a classic worrier, and I don't have to worry about this. Things are going to happen, and I will know what to do. Also, the practice of self-observation that I've been doing with a group for many, many years now has helped me to learn that I have a conscience and I'm directed by that sensing inside myself of what the next correct thing to do is. So I have it from another perspective, but I understand what it is that they're talking about when they say go straight. So in other words, don't go to the right, to the left, the good to the bad, especially the good or the bad. It's not about good or bad. It's about taking action. You can act and you go straight. Sometimes weaving is the right answer. I mean, they had to choose a word. He had to choose a word to describe what it is that his teaching is. But sometimes weaving is the right thing to do. I think once you get used to your orientation being don't know mind, you will have a sensing of what that straight in any situation means. It might mean making a phone call, or it might mean not saying something in the moment. But it's what they call moment world. It's a momentary knowing and sensing that you become more and more familiar with.
Would you call it a choice?
The word that wants to come is sometimes. I think that when you make a choice, it's your dedication to that action. Let me put it that way. It's not like, oh, I don't know, I'm just going to do this. It's actually a place of you do know. It's a full body thing. It's not a mental thing. And there's action, there's actual activity attached to that.
Sensing that don't know is not about confusion. Don't know is not being confused. It's coming from a place without preconceptions.
Yes.
Of emptiness, without thinking about how things are supposed to be, and just being with the reality of what is. And out of that arises right action. Spiritual masters, genuine teachers, and their certitude always really impacted me as an expression of their being. It just seemed like their actions came out of that place of don't know. For a long time, I really didn't get that so much. But then I started realizing that that's a lot of where that kind of surety and certitude came from. It can really look very much the same with someone who's got a huge ego, in the sense that they're always knowing it all or something like that. But you can feel the difference, the contextual difference, when someone is coming from that place of don't know mind. There's magic.
No, it's practice. I would say it's practice. He started out by saying that don't know is not confusion. It's the opposite of confusion. And what happens, the practitioners say that when they're able to practice over and over this state of don't know, they get to a mental clarity. And it's from the mental clarity that they are able to move. They come from that place of moving from mental clarity of being, basically, what they call true being. So, when we study in self-observation, in the beginning of self-observation book, he's talking about know thyself, the Pythagorean statement of know thyself, know yourself. So that's what we're doing on spiritual path. And I see it across all of the spiritual paths that I've touched and studied and seen, is this necessity to know who we are. Who are we? So one of the koans that they give their students is, who are you? What was your face before your parents were born? That kind of thing. That puts you into the state of don't know mind. It's a whole practice of answering to, which I don't understand so much, but I get that this don't know mind is a very different state of being, and it's not confusion. It clears confusion, in fact. So emotions are those things that do stir up confusing thoughts and opinions and memories and trauma, past trauma. So working with all of that stuff is not about repressing it, because when you repress it, it is going to come out at some point. And we know that. We know it from all kinds of study that repression is not the way to go, but you can hold it in a place where you can be with it. If you're able to hold something and actually look at it, the seeing of it begins to clear. And as it clears, you see things, not the terrifying situations that you once thought of as a child when you were traumatized, but you're able to see it as an adult, and you're able to hold it as a practitioner in the midst of something else happening that could be re-traumatizing. I'm really in don't know mind right now. Go on, tell me I'm full of it.
All right, you're full of it. That came from don't know mind.
I don't know, but that was funny. How do you prepare for a talk on don't know mind? It's a great koan.
I just keep thinking of the words space and potential and lack of fear.
Mm-hmm. That's a good start. When the Buddhists are talking about emptiness, they're talking about space and potential at the same time. It's like the unmanifested. In space and infinity, they talk about that as well. It's like space and time is infinite.
It just seems like you really have to lack fear to not know, to be open like that.
What is your experience of fear?
That it's constricted.
Is it situational?
Not necessarily. Yes, and I would say.
Well, true fear is useful. It's kept the species alive in the face of being hunted down by wild animals and things like that. So knowing how to respond honestly to real threat is a preservation skill, survival skill. Thing is, we fear a lot of other things. We don't really need to be doing that to ourselves. So is it possible that we could be using that energy for something that is of more use to ourselves?
If you were practicing don't know mind, then when fear came up, I would think that you would be with that.
Yeah.
That's not fear anymore, I don't think. Being with fear isn't fear. It seems very different to me. If you're with fear, yeah, it's different than fear.
So fear includes running away or defending or fight or flight, and being with is not fearful then? I heard somebody say that courage is having fear and doing it anyway. So there we are, going back into right action again. Having fear of a situation, going forward anyway, going straight anyway. And that's courage.
Does that come from don't know mind?
Does that response come from don't know mind, or does the fear come from don't know mind?
The courageous response.
Sometimes you know what you're afraid of. I think it'd be smart to know what you're afraid of.
Mhm.
If it's real, if it's dangerous, and you need the courage to go forward anyway, it doesn't mean you're a coward if you don't do it necessarily. It might be that you're discriminating and you're choosing not to go into a fearful situation.
No, well, we're talking about the experience of the emotion itself, like how to work with that or how to be with that. So, I mean, if we talk about don't know mind and emptiness and all of that, that's one thing. But really, the reality that we live in, I think almost all the time,
Right.
is one of emotion. And so, how to relate with those things, and maybe to come back to don't know mind and to be with things as they are when they come
Yes.
up. And then I would think don't know mind maybe comes through that, and the way to be becomes clear, and you can go straight through that, ideally.
Well, it's all hypothetical until you have a situation where you're doing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So much of this practice of don't know, go straight mind is about experience. And from that experience, then you have something to stand on, then you have something to work with, then you have something to relate to. By setting myself up that challenge this week, remembering the ant and the line, I proved some things to myself that I was not right about being afraid of certain things, that I can go beyond my fear. I can only respond from my experience. But now I know, now I have more information about myself, about my situation now, which is always changing. The situation is always changing. But I have more information about that. And that's very useful to me going forward with my work situation.
Mhm. To me, there's a difference between don't know mind and just being scattered. People who just sometimes say whatever comes into their mind, you could say, oh, that's being in don't know mind. But somehow, if you're not in the moment, if you're not present in the moment, then it's just mind stream that comes through. And that's different than acting out of don't know mind.
Yeah, it's a different don't know mind, which is ignorance. Being scattered, stream of consciousness, that's an uninformed mind. Don't know mind, it's one pointed in what they call the moment world, what Soen Sa Nim's teachers call the moment world. Each moment, each moment, each moment brings you back to don't know mind. When I connected using don't know mind, I didn't have to worry. Then I forget it. And that's thinking mind. And one of the teachers says, I only have 10,000 thoughts a day that take me away from practice. I only have 10,000 thoughts a day. Don't know mind is one pointed. I think don't know mind brings us to a place where things are very simple. I know for myself, from not having practiced that with others or for very long, it's challenging and it's a little bit scary. What you mean, give up thinking? No, you don't give up thinking. You have to think. Just don't be attached to your thinking. We get attached, especially to emotions, justifications for the way we think or what we're saying or hurting other people. Do I say something that's harsh or cruel? What is my speech like? How do I hurt other people? So these are questions that are not bad questions to ask myself. The answers are not always pretty, though.
So, how do you detach from emotions?
Good question. Facing fear, being with your fear, being with your emotion. Compassion is being passionate with compassion. This is just my understanding of it. And it isn't always easy.
Mhm.
I've discovered for myself that compassion is not something I do. It's something that arises in a situation when I see something clearly, like in that don't know moment. I have a very clear memory of when that happened with somebody that I had a very hard time with. And all of a sudden, I saw that this person has no ability to be self-reflective. That's not, I'm better than this person. It's that I have an experience that this person has no ability to have. which has been huge for me. It's huge that I have an ability to self-reflect. And I've worked on that for a very, very, very long time before I even met any spiritual teachers.
Do you feel that with someone that you see something about, like they may not have an ability to reflect,
Right.
do you feel like after you see that in the next moment, you could let that go and see what else might happen, which might be something different? Maybe they do have the ability to reflect about something. Or do you hold on to what it is that you've seen and turn that into a belief about somebody?
It's a really good, really, really good question. I don't want to turn it into a belief. I want to remember seeing that and the feeling that came with that, the sensing that I had. Like I said, it was an arising of compassion. All of a sudden, I saw how much this person was suffering because of his inability to be self-reflective, always blaming others, tremendous amount of energy putting into it's the other person's fault and making somebody really wrong, and just a lot of negative energy.
So when you see that,
Yeah.
if you see something about someone, then how do you hold that from a place of don't know mind?
I think it was at a moment of when I wasn't holding on to any other opinion about him. It was just a moment. It was just something he said to me in the position he was in. And it was like, oh my God, this person is really suffering because he's not able to see himself at all. And it changed my whole relationship with him, basically, is what happened. But I didn't do anything. So
Well, I'm just asking how you hold that. I mean, if we're talking about coming back to don't know mind, and you've seen that about him, and maybe you have a charge because there's a big history, how does that work in terms of don't know mind? Do you hold on to that perspective that you have, or every time you see him, could things be different?
yeah, the attachment to anything that shows up. This is new for me. So I haven't had a lot of practice around this, but this is another very, very highly stressed point of these Zen Buddhist practitioners' teaching, is that it's the attachment that causes the pain and suffering. So it's the attachment of my opinion about this, my attachment to the whole story. It doesn't mean that I don't stop seeing it, but I have a different relationship with it. This week, I proved myself wrong. I didn't have to make myself bad or wrong for it, but I wanted to see what the limits were, what that circle was that I'd drawn around myself as the end. And I saw it. I saw it. It makes me more sensitive to being discriminating about what I think I can do and what I think I can't do because of whatever I attach to the story. So that's another part of their teaching, is like, try not to attach anything to what you're seeing. They've used words like digest and dissolve. So these emotions tend to dissolve when you're coming from this one-pointed view of don't know, go straight, don't know, see straight, don't know, just be with, and don't know again, and don't know.
Yeah, it's really a radical way of approaching life. Don't know because we know so much, and all of our experience informs everything that we do. And I think that that's still there, but there's also, I don't know, just a context of openness to whatever might come.
What helps me is to put the two kinds of minds. There's don't know mind, which is our original mind. Then there's thinking mind. And then they also say there are different kinds of thinking mind. There's an analyzing mind. There's what they call checking mind. I'm checking the time. I'm checking on all kinds of things. I'm checking on who's here and who's being seen and who's got a little picture up and who's actually present. But is that a problem? Do I make that into a problem? That's checking mind. Do I make my checking mind into a problem? No. People showed up tonight. This is amazing to me. It's a Saturday night. There's a lot of things you could be doing besides coming to one of these talks. Go.
How would you say this relates to security? Just sounded like a lot of the examples you were giving had to do with feeling secure. Like if I'm checking the time or if I'm analyzing, like, I think I want a sense of security.
Or safety.
Safety. Aren't you the one that asked about fear?
I am.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, you're on to me. Because
So you're onto yourself. That's what I call this study of self-observation, is being onto myself.
Mm.
What is it that I discover about myself? And security. Whew, man, that's a big one. What does that mean to me?
when you said about it makes me wonder more about what I can do and what I can't do, I was thinking, well, maybe it's more about being right or wrong or not right or not wrong.
Oh, are you talking about the challenge that I gave myself last week?
Yes.
Yeah, it had to do with pain. I thought my limit was a certain amount of time, and I couldn't go beyond that without being, severely in pain. Turns out I was just fine, although I did feel more pain. But it was workable. It was worth doing it. It was worth doing that little experiment to find out that I was wrong about my limitations. Are much more malleable than that. I thought I knew I had a limit on the time that I could work.
But if we hold on to this idea, and this is, I think, pretty primal, if we hold on to an idea that this is how we are, or I can only do so much, then that's fixed. And our idea of ourselves is limited by that.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you find out, oh, I can go beyond that, then you realize that there's more to you. But things just keep coming to us
to
practice with in that way. And talking about it is one thing, but when something comes up that really we don't think that we can handle, we can deal with, then for me, a lot of times I just forget, don't know mind, or even the idea of it, and just revert to habit. And then that happens over and over again. But then as I continue to practice, it's a gradual thing where I've become a little more conscious.
Yeah.
It's like that farmer story with the horses. Don't you guys know the farmer story? Oh.
The horse
farmer who has the horses, and the horses run away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
and
the farmer
breaks his leg, and then
maybe,
the army
yes,
comes through.
exactly. So, but just asking, like, well, maybe.
There's a good example of don't know mind. Well, maybe.
Since people are going to listen to this, or some version of it, maybe you should say a little bit about the farmer story, just so it's clear what we're talking about.
Oh, I have to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or not.
So there was a farmer, and he found a horse. Okay, set me up for this. And the neighbor said, "Oh, how lucky you are." He said, "Well, maybe." Then his son got on the horse because the horse was wild, and he tried to break the horse. The horse threw him off, and he broke his leg. And the neighbor said, "Oh, that's such bad luck." And the farmer said, "Well, maybe." And then the army came through the next day, and they took all the young men who were able-bodied to go and fight in the war. And the neighbor said, "Oh, that's lucky your son wasn't taken." He said, "Well, maybe." I can't remember how it ends up. But that's probably a pretty good example of don't know mind. Maybe it's good, maybe not. It's not either or. That's the other thing, is it takes us out of the binary conundrum of right and wrong, left and right. It's really helped me with this whole rub on the politics of this nation right now. But I'm seeing how deep this thing has got its hooks in me. So I'm still working with it. It's really helping, though, this don't know.
Well, one thing about this is that most of us, I think all of us really, this is how mind works, try to set things up for things to happen a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
We've got an idea about how we want things to work out. It is scary in one sense, in one way. It can be very joyous in another way if we could get to that place of just allowing life to show us what to do rather than trying to set it all up.
Yeah.
So that we're safe.
When I listen to these Dharma teachers, they laugh a lot. They laugh a lot. They tell stories of themselves. And I think part of that is they see how ridiculous things are. I think that that's it. It's like when you start taking out all of the personal opinions and the justifications for why you're doing this and why that person's wrong, and you just start taking all of that stuff out, and you come from a different place, you can see the ridiculousness of it. Really. You can see other people's perspectives a little more clearly too. So that it's clearer for myself, but it also allows me to see other people's perspectives more clearly. You see what I'm saying?
No.
Anybody else see what I'm saying?
I do.
Good for you.
Well, in the write-up,
Yeah.
you say
Yeah.
the Diamond Sutra tells us that our minds make our life in
Yeah.
the way we hold on to thoughts and fixed ideas.
Mm-hmm. A spiritual practice is the endeavor to know ourselves and to know what is true. How may we be steady and constant in the face of uncertainty? So I don't think that's necessarily security. I think that's an ability to see things clearly and accept what is as it is here and now and act, which would be another way of saying, don't know, go straight. But also something that appears as you begin to practice this more and more is that we know what the correct action is. And we find ourselves in situations which are favorable to that practice and that we may practice in and be of service to that practice. I don't think it's magic. I think it's practice.
Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche uses this phrase, ordinary magic.
Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche is a Tibetan Buddhist teacher. So he calls it, what do you call it?
There's this idea of ordinary magic that the way I understand it is that if you're open to what life presents,
Yes,
from a place of don't know mind, although he wouldn't use that language, life is magical. One never knows what's going to come. And if you align with what the universe provides,
yeah,
sometimes things happen that are nonlinear, that are very synchronous or coincidental.
yeah. It opens you up to other possibilities, many possibilities. Okay, maybe Trungpa calls it magic, ordinary magic, but it's not like Harry Potter magic. It's a different context altogether, I would say.
Yeah, there's some quote from Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind from Suzuki Roshi. It's something like, in the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few.
They're not experts in many things, I guess.
Well, we're an expert on what we want. We want things to go a certain way in our life.
Yeah, and that's drawing a line around the ant. That's putting ourselves in a container. Do I want to be that kind of person? Well, I decided this week I wasn't going to do that. So when they called me in, I said, okay. And then I practiced my way through that sucker.
We put ourselves in an ant trap.
Yeah.
I have some experience with that outwardly because my house was overrun with ants a while back. And then we got ant traps and took care of the problem. So there.
Thing is that they figure out how to get beyond the circle, and that's an insect. But here we are, complicated human beings.
Going back to this thing of ordinary magic, I think if you can tap into that, it's like a different way of experiencing life.
It's like, what's your context of spiritual practice? Is it just something you do while you're sitting on your pillow, or are you actually applying things in your daily life with whatever it is you're doing?
But also, I think that we fall into this state of don't know, go straight, or don't know mind pretty regularly. It just happens, but there's such a strong urge to revert to type, just a habit of coming back into the ant trap.
What are you calling type? You mean your habit body?
Yeah. Just the way that mind holds on to thoughts and fixed ideas about itself.
Yeah. You can use the ant, sheet of paper, and the circle. And you're the ant, and just see what your limitations are and see if you can work with them. That's just my one thing I did to work with it. You know, you're magical. You can make up your own stuff.
This is a magical talk.
Not knowing is the natural state, right? I mean, so
Hey, there you go. Finally, we got there. Okay.
No, but knowing comes out of not know, right? So we try to know stuff.
So no thinking mind is before thinking mind. Yeah, that's who your true self is. Now, if you can stay with that long enough to find out who you are, I mean, I'll report back to you on that one. Whew.
God, and you see that in children
Yes.
so clearly.
Yes.
We're grown-ups and we're going to teach them how to be. Please.
Yeah.
I'm surprised more people don't want to get involved in this conversation because it's kind of fun. I'm enjoying it anyway.
Well, it's challenging too. I think it really is challenging.
I have to say, you have made me laugh like quite a few times, E. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Definitely. If something's going to make me laugh, I'm showing up, man.
Yeah.
I could use some of that.
But we were talking this morning about not taking responsibility. It's not about not taking responsibility. In fact, it's the opposite of that. To come from don't know mind, I think it's to be more responsible because you're taking into consideration more than just your opinion, your small little expert opinion. So you really are being more responsible, which is a great practice for me because I practiced a very long time in my life not being responsible for anything. To get away with it, I would not be responsible for it.
Responsible for the whole. That's you're in relationship.
Yeah. If you're in a relationship, you are responsible for the whole relationship, not just your part. You don't see it in parts. You see it as the whole thing. Like this. I'm responsible for all of this.
All of
it. Yeah. So am I going to worry about that? Did I do a good job? You don't have to worry about that. You did what you did. That's it. That's what happened. So I'm teaching myself not to worry. And I'm laughing because finally I get to not worry, you know?
Well, for now.
So I was thinking about what's this direction? What is straight?
Go straight? Yeah. Yeah.
And it occurs to me that it's not so much a direction as it is just letting things be as they are.
Yes.
It's like Newton's law of motion. I forget what number it is, but things in motion, unless acted upon by an outside force, will continue in a straight line. So I think we're sort of called to let things go in the straight line they want to go in without me coming in and saying, I'm going to push it one way or the other. I'm going to change things. And even having an opinion about things changes them.
It does. So
Heisenberg's uncertainty principle there, that's more advanced physics. But just to let things be, I think that's a big part of not knowing.
But being a willing participant in it. Sometimes it's by being an active part, and sometimes it's by being maybe a silent witness, just watching. Mm-hmm. But that's also going straight. It's going in the direction that the thing's going in anyway. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, let the situation lead.
Yeah, yeah.
Rather than me thinking I know the way it's supposed to go.
Yeah, and that I did it, and it's mine.
Yeah.
That's thinking mind again. So the thing is, by discussing this, I'm beginning to see the two different kinds of mind. That there is thinking mind, there is analytical mind, there is all these different kinds of minds. My political position mind, my righteous mind, my confused mind, all these different kinds of minds that I have, which are thinking minds. And then there's no mind, don't know mind. And on that note, go straight.
Studying the teaching doesn't have to be so serious all the time. The topic of who am I and why am I here is very serious. But on the other hand, humor is the result of really exploring this deeply, as well as responsibility.
Well, I had fun. So there's an advantage to don't know. Why not make it fun? We can do that.